Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And thank you for being with us this morning. My name is Senator Elena Parent. Yesterday, in the Senate Education and Youth Committee, HB 1084, another bill attempting to censor education, was heard. The dozen people who came to speak against the bill were denied the opportunity to tell the committee members their views on a matter directly impacting them. The group was largely made up of students. The actions of this committee directly impact the education that they can receive. They drove hours to tell the committee their stories. We will not let them be silenced. I have never been a part of a committee meeting that was run so badly to the detriment of all of Georgia. And when I went out in the hall and I saw the students' crestfallen faces and I saw tears streaming down the faces of students, that our colleagues are acting like our pawns in a game, I knew that we had to let them tell their stories. Public schools work hard to teach students the truth in a balanced manner. All of the bills we're seeing this session are an attempt to sow distrust in our public school system. And the Republicans pushing all of them should be ashamed. Now, I'm going to turn the podium over to Representative Nguyen.
Good morning. My name is State Representative Nguyen. I am a member of the House Education Committee meeting. And yesterday morning, I met the group of students standing on the stairs behind me. And as they shared with me why they came to the Capitol, they said, this is a bill that impacts us directly. We have prepped to be able to testify in committee. They were here at 9 a.m. for a committee that took place in the afternoon, and I said to them, this is your house. The Capitol is the people's house, and you should feel empowered to be here and empowered to be heard, and they are the ones who are going to be impacted by the legislation that we have seen being introduced and passed in both chambers during this session. And yet, my words were proven wrong in the afternoon when Senate Republicans said, no, you will not be allowed to testify. And so we are here today to give students a platform because they are going to be the ones directly impacted by the slew of bills being passed by Republicans who have no interest in hearing them. So before we hear from the students behind us, Senator Lester Jackson will say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning. Our country was built on certain inalienable rights, the freedom of speech. I have constituents that drove 250 miles under this gold dome to voice their freedom of speech, to voice their freedom of expression. They was denied in the Education Committee yesterday. Students, high school students who are trying to learn about government, who are trying to learn about where their place is in government, and they were denied. We are a great state of vision, of purpose and passion. But when we deny our students the opportunity to voice their concerns, to voice their opinions about what we want for Georgia, we're doing them a disservice. In fact, we're doing the entire state of disservice. So the Georgia Senate Education Committee did a disservice yesterday when it denied these students behind me their right to speak. This cannot go on. This is not the Georgia of the future. This is not the Georgia of the present. This is not the Georgia they want to live in. Let's give them the opportunity to voice their opinion. We want to give them an opportunity to become a part of our foundation to grow a better Georgia. Let's give them the opportunity to speak. And today, they will have that opportunity. I'm State Senator Lester Jackson.
Hello? Oh, okay. Good morning. Our names are Jalen Connor and Tanaya Forrest. And we just wanted to go ahead and give the testimony that we weren't allowed to give yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead. We are members of the Deep Action Research Team based in Savannah, Georgia. The HB 1084 bill silences the voices of the students you claim to be protecting, but what are you protecting them from exactly? The bill talks about banning divisive concepts being taught in the classroom when in actuality these concepts do not exist. How long has it been since any one of you have been inside a high school history class? Because for me, it was last Friday. Reading through what is considered a divisive concept, it occurred to me how absolutely absurd these supposed concepts were. I can't name one time I've seen a student or a teacher tell another student that they're racist because of mistakes their ancestors made in the past. It simply doesn't happen. These divisive concepts that have been pulled out of the sky are just fake solutions for made-up problems. Limiting what can be taught in classrooms limits the potential of students. History is history, and it's not always pretty, but it's important that students are taught all parts of it. Coddling students and sheltering them from problems that do not exist only stunt their growth and potential. If history has taught us anything, it's that when you restrict and suppress the youth, it never ends well for the oppressors. In the words of Sidney J. Harris, the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. So representatives, this is what it was going to say. So representatives, help us continue to open windows for students and vote no on the HB 1084 bill. They didn't vote no. So yesterday, when we weren't allowed to give testimony, it was really frustrating because we stayed up till 1 a.m. the night before. We drove up 4 hours from our hometown of Savannah, Georgia, just to be able to speak, and to have us silenced to our face like that, it was really maddening. I started tearing up because it was just like the only way I could feel to release the anger. I had to step out in the hallway because I didn't want to cry in front of, like representatives and like important people. And it was just like, it felt like all the hard work that we put into prepping, we didn't even get to be heard. And it was just really disrespectful to me personally because we are the students and the bill directly affects students. So the fact we weren't even able to speak on it was just really hurtful. Okay, yeah, that's all we have. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Leah Span. On yesterday, I arrived at the Capitol and to speak about HB 1084, and my natural right was denied by the committee chair. I was dismissed and degraded and excluded from from a democratic process. I left the Capitol feeling hurt, lost, and confused about what just occurred. I've gathered myself and my eyes are now open. I now see that the committee chair does not carry out the duties he was elected for, nor does he care about the Georgia students. There was a hidden agenda that swept through the citizens' Capitol. Moving forward, that I am now no longer accepting things I cannot change, I'm changing things I cannot accept. Also, yesterday he was talking about Martin Luther King and the marches and about things how black people were treated, and he did the same thing to us yesterday by only listening to the white men. He did not hear our voices, he did not let us speak. That was disappointing and it was not respectful at all. We sat there for a long time and he just ignored us because he felt like what he was saying was just right.
Lift this up some so.
Talk loud.
Okay. It's hard seeing your state representatives actively shut you out from having your voice heard. We drove 250 miles from Savannah, Georgia to experience the excitement of being a part of our state government. We were told we had a voice, and not 3 hours later, that voice was freely denied. We had our arguments freshly written from the night before. They were supposed to be testaments to our own little claim of citizenship, And we did exactly what we were supposed to do, to voice our concerns to our public servants. When they denied our testimony to be heard, I felt stripped of all of the constitutional powers I'd been promised in my government class. Instead of showing me the power of my voice as a citizen, it showed representatives would rather shut us out than listen. This was my testimony. It wasn't much, but I couldn't wait to put my thoughts and considerations on the committee floor to at least be heard. I was shocked to see most legislators not even paying attention and scrolling on their phones instead of listening. It killed the image in my mind of our state representatives actually listening to their constituents and working to make the best Georgia for us all. I don't think I should feel bad for wanting to hold my state representatives accountable and keep government a space for all voices to take part in. I'm Madeline Pelly.
Introduce yourself. Just tell who you are.
Oh, I'm Madeline Pelly from Deep Center.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Leroy Span IV. On yesterday, I had an eye-opener about the democratic process that shook my spirit. I had a plan on speaking in the open air community of HB 1004. As a current student in the Savannah-Chatham County District, this bill removes a part of U.S. history that consists of my heritage. It passed without my statement of concern being heard. I was given a hurt like no other, but elected officials who are tasked with working for my best, and they failed. Today I move forward as the great John Lewis started. It is time to go and to get in good trouble.
Good trouble. Good trouble. Good trouble.
Our names are Harrison Tran,
And Brian Gillison.
and we are Deep Action Research Team members based in Savannah, Georgia.
You need to speak up or take your mask off.
I come today asking, why must we whitewash our history? Why should I have to research topics on my own time that schools do not teach? Issues that are important to me, like LGBTQ+ matters, sexuality in various forms, and race. For far too long, Georgia's history has been the subject of erasure by multiple groups like the Ku Klux Klan and the Sons of the Confederacy to change a narrative. Now, similar groups are attempting to change what is taught in Georgia classrooms. These divisive topics are in no way divisive. Not talking about them does not allow for growth in our education system as we see it. Without speaking on such subjects, children of Georgia, and frankly across America, are sheltered in a tunnel of censorship that does not allow for individual thinking. When I arrived at the Capitol building yesterday, I expected to represent fellow peers and community members by giving testimony on House Bill 1084 at the Senate Youth and Education Committee hearing. If you haven't already, that didn't happen. Senator Payne closed the hearing to public comment and left his mark as the senator who refuses to listen to his constituents. I came to the Gold Dome with like-minded people to be a voice to hundreds of Georgians who couldn't make the roughly 4-hour drive here. The actions of Senator Payne and those who voted for the bill, that being Senator Brass, Gooch, Dolezal, Albers, and Navarrete, will not be forgotten. What occurred yesterday was a show of cowardice. A group of people who stared at their phones, dozing off, to avoid the voices that sat in room 310 at the Paul D. Coverdale Legislative Office building. What happened yesterday was shameful, and those senators should feel ashamed of themselves. What happened yesterday was in no way, shape, or form a democratic process. You cannot and will not silence our voices. I will return on Monday and sit in my U.S. history class, jotting down notes about things I already know, because the education system refuses to allow topics like sexuality, gender, and race. It's always Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, but never Marsha P. Johnson, Malcolm X, and Little Rock 9. These divisive concepts are not limited only to race. Sexuality and gender were topics never discussed. Truthfully, it was a taboo topic. It was only discussed in my high school health class, covering umbrella terms that were not even correct. I had to do my own research and assess what I am. a queer Asian man. If this bill passes, we will not forget. I ask those for, against, and on the fence that you vote no on House Bill 1084. Georgia's future is at stake, and we are at your mercy.
Good morning. My name is Ellie Neese. I was not one of the students that testified, who planned to testify, but I was an observer of the committee hearing, and it was an embarrassment to Georgian democracy. The narrative that the man who was presenting the bill spun was full of loopholes, full of errors, statistics were wrong, and I sat there the whole time doing research on my own and showing my peers how incorrect and not good the statistics and the stories that he was telling were. And it was just really frustrating to sit there and not only know that I, as someone who wasn't going to speak to begin with, couldn't say anything or couldn't challenge anything or couldn't even ask a question, but my peers who spent days and hours on their words and were pouring everything in their hearts into what they were saying, they couldn't even get up. And we drove 4 hours to speak for 30 seconds and we were given nothing. We stood up and he acknowledged our names and we asked why we weren't able to speak, and he said that you're being acknowledged and that's good enough. And that is not good enough. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we're not going to stand for it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm James Wilson. I'm a college student at Georgia State University. I, along with my colleague, we've been coming back and forth to this dome to testify on these bills. And the one thing that members of this assembly have said over and over again are, where are the other students? They say over and over again that they're tired of hearing from paid political lobbyists, but when students drive 4 hours from Savannah to come and speak, they shut them out. It is so disgraceful. This assembly has made this issue, our education, a political one. So if they want to make it a political one, I can tell you that the Democrats of this assembly, they've given us the podium, while the Republicans of this assembly, they've given us the door, time and time again. It is absolutely disgraceful that this is the treatment that students of this state get. These representatives and senators who shut us out, they work for us. They need to remember that. And finally, I really want to say thank you to the students that have come from Savannah. These students are not that much younger than me, but I admire them and I respect them. Their resolve, their grace under pressure, their confidence, their courage. I think that these students, they really represent the best of Georgia, and they really represent what our public education system can do when it's run by people who care. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Yay! Oh my God. All right, Jordan.
Good morning. I am Jordan Madden, freshman at Georgia State University. This morning, I felt the Spirit of the Lord and the voices of my forefathers, and the hymn, I Shall Not Be Moved. For those who are not familiar with the hymn, it talks about being rooted like a tree in belief. And through the planting of that tree, the waters remain calm. This hymn was a key song during the Civil Rights Movement, particularly when those in power attempted to silence and remove them. It is a song that my forefathers sang through the bondage of slavery. And it is a song that I sing today, calm in voice but loud in my heart. I stand here after another group of Black and brown students were silenced from amplifying their voices. This is the second time Senator Chuck Payne and his Republican colleagues have silenced our voices. I am keeping the hymn in my heart. While the talk of 1084 may make them uncomfortable, I will still share. These divisive concepts are not divisive. They are just uncomfortable to people who look like Representative Wade. These concepts are not harmful, other than harming the privileged, and will shelter people like Representative Wade's ancestors who had a key part in the harm in history. 1084 is a bill that will uproot decades of work like Brown v. Board of Education and the Civil Rights Movement. Why will we allow its bigotry and ignorance to continue to live and breathe in our schools instead of addressing our history to educate and allowing students to critically think? We have been here every single committee hearing at the House and the Senate side to combat this. We marched, we did press conferences, we had sit-ins, and we even brought an appeal to your offices, and you still are not hearing us. I am beyond disgusted with this bill, and even more disgusted at the response we have gotten at our reaction to this bill. The students of Georgia do not want this bill, and the students of Georgia who you are representing, not the lobbyists, not the activists, but the students here today. Remember that when you make your consideration, when it's brought to the floor, do what you can to do to stop this bill. While they are trying to silence us, I am reminded by this song that we will not be moved. I reminded Representative Wade and Senator Chuck Payne yesterday that Georgia will remember them. The history books will remember them for this. And while it's painful, while it's emotional, our right to speak is our right. We will not be moved. We're going to continue to amplify our voices because we will not be moved. We're going to continue to give our testimony and speak out against bigotry and ignorance because we will not be moved. As you leave this building and lay your heads down tonight, I remind you that the song will still be playing because us students, the students here, will not be moved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you to all the students behind me who have courageously come to the Capitol time and time again and who have shown us they will not be silenced, they will not give up, that their voices matter, and that this issue is instrumental to them. This concludes our press conference, but I urge members of the press to talk to these students, to share their stories, to amplify their voices in the media, because this story is not about politics, it's not about parental rights, it is about the body of students we see behind us and their right to deserve honest education in our public school system. And so I would urge you all to talk to them. Thank you so much.